what are the topics that really are relevant for us to going forward, for us to feeling empowered.
We empower people, we empower things, but we don't empower ourselves. And we become the role. We become, the vice president, the partner, and our identity gets caught up in there.
In this episode, my guest is Deb Smallwood, a trailblazer who transitioned from 46 years career in the insurance industry to championing women empowerment. You will learn about Deb's mantra of "Why not me?" and how it drove her to break barriers and achieve incredible success. She shares the importance of embracing the present moment, the power of self-awareness, and the transformative concept of self-powerment. So please grab a cup of coffee or tea and discover practical steps to unlock your potential and create a fulfilling and joyful career. Let's empower ourselves and each other, and welcome one more time to the Brilliantly Branded podcast.
Well, hello and welcome one more time to the Brilliantly Branded podcast. My guests are around the world of women empowerment, and this time I brought a woman that have been part of the insurance world, and as well she have been deciding to transitioning in championing women empowerment and diversity as well in the business world and beyond. So now she is having an amazing platform, a brand that called Self-Powerment. I want to give a warm welcome actually to my guest today and invite her to be part of the Brilliantly Branded podcast. Deb Smallwood, welcome to the Brilliantly Branded podcast. And please, could you introduce yourself?
Hello, Maria. Thank you so much for this invitation. It is amazing the momentum that you have and the amazing podcast that you have available for women around the world. And thank you for the invitation. Yeah, I'm Deb Smallwood, a veteran executive in the United States in the P&C industry, have pivoted and shifted to writing a book and having a platform around self-powerment, inspiring women. So I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, thank you very much. And actually, it's part of the things that I always like to discuss with my guests. And it's basically a little bit about your background in the world of insurance, because I think that will really showing us the moment in when you decide to shift and what the reasons that they make you decide to do that. So,
great question. 46 years in insurance, a lot of years.
Jesus.
It's great to be on the other side of an amazing career. I always was a visionary and a trailblazer as a woman. Even it goes back to my high school days where I was the first woman class president in high school. And it wasn't about being a woman. It was always around, why not me? And I had a very inspirational mother in the 70s that said, you need a job. You need to work for a big company so you can have benefits in retirement, because that's where the world was in the 70s and 80s. And this technology thing, this computer thing, this is in the 70s. She said, it's going to be really big. Get a job in that industry. So I started as a COBOL programmer, Liberty Mutual, 19 years, 13 promotions, ended up being a CIO at another insurance company. And then wanted to make that pivot from working at a company to being a consultant. So I shifted over to being a consultant and an advisor, was a partner at KPMG, made partner in 18 months. So always, why not me, driven, competitive, executing, driven by my accomplishments and my achievements. And then someplace along the journey about 20 years ago, I decided to start my own company. A lot of different reasons. Part of it was my self-discovery and self-exploration, and started Strategy Meets Action. And for 15 years had an amazing business, predominantly in the US, some Canadian business, providing transformation advice to insurance companies and vendors in the insurance space. And ended up selling it. Full circle, right? Ended up selling it a couple of years ago, which leads me to where I am today.
Wow, that is an amazing professional background that you have had the opportunity to live. And you mentioned something that took my attention, and you say, "Why not me?" So if you would like to explain me this a little bit more, because for me it's very interesting, this phrase that probably put us in certain status or mindset that will be the starting point to really remove it or keep it to really empower ourselves. So how do you could explain that to us?
Yeah, and I haven't figured out where it came from. I thought it came from my mother as I write the book and rediscover my childhood. I had amazing parents, and my immigrants from Greece. I'm second generation American. I was really exposed to the world outside of New Hampshire and the Greek community, and something instinctively has always said, "Why not me?" So when I was at Liberty Mutual, I said to myself, I really want to be a consultant. I felt the glass ceiling. I felt my path had reached a level where I was just going to have to be satisfied. And I said to myself, why not me? Why not be a consultant? And I got a job at KPMG. Someone said to me, you should act like a partner if you want to be like a partner. And I said, sure. Why not me? Why not me, a partner? In 18 months became a partner. And then along my journey, it was why not me? Why not start a business? So it's always been this internal drive. Part of it is the drive, the competitiveness, the ability to always push. But I find it as I talk more about it, it's inspiring for a lot of people because I think it's why not me? And then you've got this.
I love that. Yeah. And how that end up being connected with self-powerment, because actually self-powerment is the platform and your brand, the brand that you created after that. So how you will connect these two both, because this is a strong reason to create a movement that now is self-powerment. But I'm so curious about that.
So why not me? Why not write a book? Right. So my whole career, and I remember back in the 80s being on maternity leave, watching the on the American TV, the Today Show, authors coming on and showcasing their books. And I said to myself, well, someday I'm going to write a book. Why not me? Right. Because I think when we look at opportunities, they're all out there, but we put barriers. The world doesn't put barriers. We put our own self-doubt and barriers around it. So I always wanted to write a book. Initially, I was going to write a book on digital transformation because that's what I did for so many years in insurance. But then I sold the company and I sold all the IP. And
Yeah. So
I also had a non-compete. So, I paused, I thought about it, I reflected on my own career, and I said to myself, why not inspire women? I've always indirectly or directly have inspired women. I've watched women in my own career. So why not inspire women to feel the power that they have? Because my professional journey, it sounds amazing, but boy, there were a lot of dips. There were a lot of dark points where I had to pull myself out. And of my 46 years, I'd say the last 20 have really been almost like a rebirth and an incredible self-powerment journey. So why not share that and inspire women? Because the reality is, it's still really hard to be a woman in the business world.
it
There's
is.
still stories that I felt and experienced, still happening today. And whatever I can do, if I can just help one more woman to just achieve fulfillment and joy and happiness, because I really believe that you can have that joy and happiness at work. It doesn't have to be that grind all the time, which I felt for so many years.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not me?
Yeah. What not? And what if? No, what if you make those changes? What if
Uh,
everything start to be, that is for me something like, what if I can change the world in some way, adding all the value? And you, after all this beautiful experience, experimented that success because, of course, sometimes this could be difficult for women to be part of the world of corporate, for example, but as well as a lot of women that are so successful and in different things, and we are so successful in our own businesses. And this is the moment when we manage to empower others. So what are you using to empower these other women across self-powerment, for example?
yeah. So I'm leveraging, I start with my own experience, right? All those key roles that I've had in my journey. I've leveraged over the years a variety of executive coaches and learning and really became familiar with the human being and the being in the present moment, that in the context of being successful in the business world. And so I've leveraged my superpowers in the roles that I've had, in the learnings that I've had. But then I decided to launch research, and I just recently interviewed 52 executive women, high performing leaders in the business world, outside in and outside insurance, a variety of roles. And I interviewed them because I really wanted to learn about their life, their journey, their dips, their successes, and really tap into, are they really fulfilled? Are they really
Yes.
happy? Do they find joy? Or is it that relentless grind that I had for so many years? So that research, but I also have partnered with my publisher as a coach, because I believe in anything that we do, we need help.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay. Seek out help. So I can explore that a little more if you want, but it's just really
Yes.
putting that.
Well, the thing is, I'm so curious about how, I guess this is going to be the topic of your book. I mean, the results of all these 52 women that you interviewed, but in general, because this is a deep message behind that. And the deep message is how we can learn from the things that is in certain way connected. For example, what I am doing when I am interviewing all these, well, now it's not just women, but women, men, all genders as well, to see how and what are the topics that really are relevant for us to going forward, for us to feeling empowered. So in general terms, your book is going to give us all those details, because I wanted to read right now if that is like that. Tell us a little bit more about this.
Yeah, about the book. The book is really going to set the context for self-powerment. I'll give you the definition in a minute, but it's given what I've been doing for so many years, I really want to create a transformational mind shift.
Lovely.
So the book is really going to be about the transformational mind shift, my story, my lessons learned, other women's stories, lessons learned, and then the how. And the how is a self-powerment model that I've built. Because remember, I'm a consultant and an advisor. So one of the first things I started to do was I created a self-powerment model and focused on the how. But what I've learned in book writing, which was a real pivot for me, is I have to have the big ideas and the emotional tie, and the stories do that. So this has been quite the journey to be able to thread all of this together. Let me tell you a little about self-powerment, the definition,
Yes, please.
and some of the major components of it. So I love the term self-powerment. Now, Google and ChatGPT do not. It's not a valid word in their mind. It always comes back with empowerment, and it's not empowerment. We empower people. We empower things, but we don't empower ourselves. power comes from within. So we self-power ourselves. And when we realize that our life, our career is in our hands, we are accountable, and it's the choices ours to make always. May be hard, but it's our choice. And once you get clarity around who you are, your superpowers, your strengths, your experiences, once you understand the power, the energy, your heartbeat, your breath, right? The present moment, the stillness that you bring, this human being, right? The human part in your being, then you can step out in the world. Then you're self-powered to take on the why not me and the challenges. And what happens, I think, to a lot of us is, and it happened to me, is our identity, our world, our roles gets us. We lose ourselves when we're working, and we become the role. We become, the vice president, the partner, and our identity gets caught up in there. Our identity gets caught up at being a mother, right? It's the most important thing. And we have all these roles, but it really is our inner being, our human being. And once we have clarity around that, then we can play in all those roles. But it really is the separation of the two.
Oh, this, blow my mind, because actually in this noisy and crowded world, finding time to discovering yourself sometimes is a big challenge. And I think that this is the challenge in which many, many of us are trying to deal with, to don't be actually influenced by the noise outside, the social media noise, the society noise. And I say noise because sometimes it's annoying for me. And I don't know if probably maybe so many people are identified with this, but what will be your advice related to how to find this inner self voice, or how to go and dig into these self powers?
It is a journey. It's taken me a long time to get here. But let me simplify it, because part of writing the book is to fast forward women in self-powerment so they don't spend 20 years like I did to get to the place that I'm at right now.
You are shortcutted the way. I mean.
I think you have to start with the present moment. And it's, you can get spiritual or not, but all we have right at this moment is you and I having a conversation. There's nothing more, right? There's the past, and that's gone. And we may have noise, mental noise, right? That self-doubt and mental noise, the regrets and the shoulda, couldas and the sadness and my childhood and I got this and that, right? But right now it's you and I talking. We're in the present moment. And then we also have all this future anxiety. Like, even just before I got on, I was like, oh my God, what happens if I forget what I'm talking about? And I had to catch myself and say, well, that's not true. That's not reality. It's take a breath. So we have to ground ourselves in just this moment. And a way to start is,
I'm breathing.
breathe, right? Just breathe. If we can just anchor ourselves in our breath, and we don't have to go into deep meditation, but just feel your breath, right? Or just feel your heartbeat, or just feel your pulse. I mean, even if you just do that for 30 seconds throughout the day, when you get in the car, we all have 30 seconds, right? Unless you're bringing someone to the emergency room. So just take a breath, right? And start to become aware of the mental noise that you have in your head. That was the turning point for me. All this mental noise about me, my past experiences, the fear. I mean, I had panic attacks. I had anxiety. Once I started to realize that that was all based on just noise in my head, And then the other dimension is there's us, there's the human being, there's me, I am. And then there's this world out there that we can't control. Other people's and things. We can't control the weather. We can't control decisions bosses make, companies make, peers. We can't control how people treat us, but we can be true to ourselves. So if we can just start simple and just try to catch that noise in our head, even if it's just for a moment, it starts to become powerful.
Is being aware about the power of now, the power of where you are living in this second.
Exactly, right. And so, and over time, so I talked about the human being and the roles. So over time, you start to see the kind of voices you have. When you really start to get still, what I learned was I was a taskmaster in my jobs, right? Executing, where are we on the project, pushing, taskmaster. But I also saw emerging was a wise woman. And then I also started to uncover, I'm a nurturer. Didn't think I was a nurturer because I was such a taskmaster. And then also a controller. I like to control outcomes, but that could be a good thing because I can get results. And so when I show up, what role do I want to be? What voice do I want to be? So trust me, I've been in meetings where I go, I'm going to be the wise woman. I'm going to stay strategic. I'm going to get out of the weeds. And I can hear my voice. I can feel myself leaning in, right? Being the taskmaster. And sometimes I can't, even now, sometimes I can't stop myself, but I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
I'm aware of it. So awareness of you, the present moment, and then how you're responding to all this and the noise in your head, right? So the book is really going to dive into 4 different steps that you can take with some. In the book is I was on a call yesterday, and I guess I'll have a workbook as well. Some exercises, yeah.
Well, that is, I'm looking forward to really have this book in my hands, and mainly now that I have you in front of us, telling that details about the steps. What have been probably the most challenging things during this process? Because you explained, this is a process, this is a journey, and that is true. I mean, we cannot, even with all the information that is outside, we try to do our best. We try to transform our lives, or well, the ones that wanted to change it. But what probably have been the most challenging moments for you, and how you have been overcome those challenges?
Do you want challenging writing the book or challenge in my career?
In your career, to arrive to the point in where you are right now.
Oh, a couple of things. I faced a lot of discrimination, glass ceilings. I mean, I started my career in 1978. So think about the 80s. I mean, women weren't in the workplace. Women had not declared that they could be any role. And today we've proven we can be any role we want. Still not the president of the United States, not to be political. For some reason, we
Not
haven't.
yet.
Not yet, right? But we board members, CEO, CFO, we across all industries. So that was sort of noise that I just always carried in the back of my mind. And also, I was so driven. I was the relentless, long to-do list, accomplishments, not celebrating promotions, making partner in 18 months. Yay, right? I had arrived, pushing. And it was, and I really didn't like being a partner at KPMG. It wasn't a cultural fit. The work really wasn't. It was more a tax audit, financial versus technology and insurance. And September 11th happened in the United States. And I happened to be working out of the New York office in the financial service, and it got hit hard. It shut down. And so there was a layoff, and I was asked to leave. And it shook me to the core, right? I was embarrassed. I thought I let my family down. I had achieved such an amazing role, money, house, all of that, and stopped. And that was a pivotal moment for me. And as I reflect back, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I went on that journey, right? I got executive coaches as part of my package to leave and discovered my passions, went back to my roots of what I was really good at and my superpowers. Then I ended up at a company where there was another executive coach that was life-changing. She was a psychologist, and she also studied present moment and Eastern religions and also quantum physics, right? And I started to learn about the noise in my head and being in the present moment, and just taking a moment and looking at a flower and the petals, or going for a walk in nature and just listening to the birds, even if it's just for 5 minutes, right? And that ended up being really transformative and transformational for me. And then I really started to learn those voices, the wise woman, because I just thought myself as a project manager, leader, executor, right? And I started to see different dimensions of myself. And then I realized that I had to be accountable for myself. And it was always my choice. It was my choice to stay at KPMG and put me in that vulnerable position. All the decisions that it was always my choice, right? And I see women today unhappy in the job, staying like I stayed at KPMG because of the financial implications. Well,
Yes,
I had the choice to just move on. In today's world, we have that choice. In the 80s, probably not as
it
many, right?
was, yeah.
So that's been my journey around just finding stillness, clarity of my superpowers, really knowing my intention when I go to work and in my role, and making myself accountable and know that I have choice.
That is absolutely complete description about how we can really behave. And just to start to wrap up, Deb, I will love that for all those people that are listening to us right now, that are probably stuck in this moment of, oh, well, I having this work, I'm doing this job that I don't like, or I'm feeling stuck, or these kind of things that are happening, how they can really take actions right away, because sometimes I think that we are thinking too much. So overthinking in the way that how can I be out of that? And then we come with this analysis paralysis where we are really not doing anything for save ourselves. So what will be your last with all the advices that you have been already given to us, but what will be your last advice for all those people that are experimenting that right now?
That life is beautiful, right? It's really a blessing. And it's about self-powerment. Just pause for 30 seconds, take a deep breath, right? Look up and out. There's infinite possibilities out there. There really is. It's incredible what's out there. If you can just pause, get a little stillness, look up and out, and the universe, or whatever you believe in, comes to you, right? But you have to look up and out and see it. And when you see it, like I did, like, why not me? Right? And believe in yourself. You've got it. You've got the skills. I'm writing a book. I hate to write, but I'm writing a book and I've learned to write. So you've got this, and just be self-powered, because we have everything we need to live the life that we want, filled with joy and peace.
I love that. I love that. And I have to say thank you, Deb, because I have the pleasure to having you here, sharing your experience, and looking forward to have your book in my hand as soon as possible. I don't know if you want to say something else, to add something else for our audiences right now.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. And Maria, I'll make sure you get a copy when I first get a copy in my hand. So watch for me on LinkedIn. Over the next month, I'm going to really start to promote and push a lot of this content out there, even thinking about setting up workshops or things like that. But follow me on social media. I'd love to hear your stories. And whatever I can do to help women just take a breath and pause.
I love it. Thank you very much, Deb, for being here with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
We hope you have been inspired by this content and join us for future episodes of the Brilliantly Branded podcast. We will continue exploring the power of branding and the stories behind successful brands. And remember, if you know a woman who has built a successful brand with a unique approach and a story to share, please refer them to our podcast. We would love to learn from their experiences and share their story with our listeners. Stay tuned for most episodes of Brilliantly Branded, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, on our YouTube channel for more branding insights and women empowerment. Until the next episode, ciao ciao.